So we'll kind of switch off. We wanted to get back to talking about you as far as one thing we would discuss was something about as far as women in the masjid or in the mosque, as people know. And this is a side, like growing up, brothers, we were always separated. So we wanted to kind of get an idea, what was it like on the sister side? What happened over there? Like, because it was crazy on the brother side. It was strict, you know. But you know, we mentioned it earlier. I never really knew what happened on the side. So I think for even a lot of the viewers,
what happened beyond the curtain.
I think for a lot of viewers, especially the males, like what really did happen, you know. So there's probably a lot of people that would be interested to hear how it was. Like, who was it strict, or
was there gossip? What was the tea? All that.
Right.
The tea was nothing. I'm sorry to say.
Just the tea after iftar, right?
Sorry to say. What was going on the sister side is we were watching children. That's what was going on the sister side.
Right.
We were serving food. How fun.
Right.
And we were rice pickers. Okay,
I do remember
rice
that.
pickers?
We
Yeah,
were
I do
picking
remember
the
that.
rice off the carpet after we had
I do
a
remember
dinner.
that. I do
So
remember
that's what
that.
was going on the sister
We didn't have a
side.
vacuum?
Probably not.
No, we were cleaning off the Maida. We were cleaning.
Was
That's
enough
what was going
donations
on the
for a
sister
vacuum?
side. It was nothing fun.
Wow.
I mean, we would, I don't know, we would try to sneak peeks at what was going on with y'all.
Right.
But to be honest with you, like, we were so young. Like,
Right,
you know,
right,
like,
right.
what were we doing? We were peeking for what? All
Right.
because the sisters kept talking about people having husbands and we were like 10 years old.
Right, right.
So, I mean, honestly, other than that, though, there was nothing fun going on. We thought
So
you
y'all didn't
guys were
have
having
like
fun.
game, or we were. I mean, we was playing.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie,
games.
we had a lot of fun on the other
we
side.
was
Yeah.
in the basement
Not
fighting
in-
each
right.
other,
not in
playing.
the masjid, we were, you
No,
know.
we were doing that in the match.
No,
yeah, that's why we
yeah.
were always in trouble.
that's
yeah,
why y'all
yeah.
were- no.
We were always
That's why
in
we got
trouble.
beatings.
And we could have if we could put a basketball hoop in there, there would have been one in there.
100%.
That's
No,
that's
we were
how
not
we
doing
were.
that
So
in
we
that
were
shit.
we were very
Absolutely not.
creative. So I think there might have
No.
been a difference was we were very creative. We wanted to have like we went there like we might be there. We were studying. We might be there 10 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, I
You
gotta,
gotta
find
make a
way,
game
yeah,
out of
I gotta
this.
have a good time, you know. And we paid the price. We always got in trouble. I say out of 7 days out of the week, if we were there 7 days, somebody got in trouble 7 days.
Poopies was
out of the
getting
week.
smacked left
no,
and right.
not
Right.
us.
So we thought it would be like the same thing over there, like
No,
you know, but
not at all. And plus, I was a sweetheart, so
Okay,
everyone
okay.
called
Of course
me
you were.
the sweetheart.
What advice would you give to other, young Muslim women that are maybe struggling or, dealing with wanting to wear a hijab but maybe not feeling comfortable? What advice would you give to the sisters out there?
I would tell sisters to start out slow, and don't rush into anything. You have to do it for you. And I think one of the other things that is extremely important about hijab, a lot of times people rush to wear outer garments to represent their religiosity. But if you are not doing the basic things that connects you to Allah, like, then the hijab is not going to come easy. It's going to be something that's difficult. So, for instance, if you're not praying at all, but you want to wear hijab, I think it's more important for you to focus on prayer and building your connection with Allah first. And then it's going to come naturally because you have that connection with Him. I think especially African-American Muslims, we focus way too much on the outward, the way we're looking. Oh, you don't got your black on. You're not wearing this color. You're not wearing abaya. You're not wearing the khimar, like all these things. When that same person, you take the khimar off, they're full of tattoos. They're not praying. They got all kind of boyfriends. Like, I mean, so what's the point of wearing a garb that is supposed to be representative of how you're internally living? So that's my advice to a Muslim sister that's struggling. Most of the time, if you're struggling, it's because you're not doing the basics.
right.
That is, I'm dead serious. Like, especially a lot of young sisters I used to teach, and one of the young girls, she was not covering, and her parents wanted her to cover, and she was in high school.
Yeah.
And I literally asked her, I said, "Are you praying?" And she started crying, and she said no. And I'm like, that's one of the reasons why you're not feeling a connection, because she was like, "I'm just not feeling it." I'm like, you're not feeling it because you're not going towards
not
Allah.
actually connected.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
not connected. So hijab is not going to connect you to your Lord. It's it's something that's a cloth. It's a physical cloth.
Right.
It's supposed to represent much more. But if you're not building that connection, then you're not going to feel what you're supposed to feel when you put it on.
Right.
So that's what I would tell, a Muslim sister. Start slow, build your connection with Allah first, and then move to the next phase.
Right. So I had a question. As far as like in comparison with women that don't wear hijab and jilbabs and things, how do Muslim women view that? So it's summertime right now. It's 95 degrees. There's women walking down the street. Obviously, we live a different world. Women barely wearing any clothes. Where do you get the confidence to still dress the way you do? And all I say, and it's not might not be necessarily yourself, but from other women, Muslim women, how do you guys feel about that? Like when you see someone like that, do you feel like, oh, it's unfair, or are you content with what you are? What are your thoughts and feelings, with yourself and what you've heard from other Muslim women?
I think that Muslim women, we have the most confidence.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And to be honest with you, it's a choice, so we're wearing this because we choose to wear it. I think, to be honest with you, I've been in both situations where, I wore hijab, or when I was in college at some point, well, after college, really, I would wear just a turban, right? And then I would have on like a shirt with jeans. And the response that I would get from men in that area, it was disrespect. It was, the catcalling. It was, the mentioning of how my body looked. Like, that's what I would get when I dress that way. And I'm not saying if you dress that way, then, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that's what I experienced. Versus when I would be in full hijab, and have on what I'm wearing now. When I go in the street, men move out of my way. They literally, whether they're Muslim or not, they usually do some sort of bow. Where they're like, and they call me queens. I mean, like, just the level of respect and like, basically feeling cherished when I'm wearing hijab. I honestly feel so much more elevated, especially from men of color. I would say, and I think it's because they associate Islam with some sort of, either being connected to Africa or something like that. So they just elevate you. I mean, that's from my experience. So to be honest with you, I feel like Muslim women, when you are wearing abaya, or when you are, being modest, number one, it's a choice. And then I feel like we're very confident when we're wearing it.
That's a powerful statement, because like, what the Western world would say is like, these women, look how they're forced to dress this way. For one, you said it's a choice. And also, like, they say, oh, they're being oppressed. But, the actuality, you said people are, giving you respect, moving out of the way and uplifting you, So I just thought that was powerful, because that's contradicts the narrative.
They don't think that they're oppressed. They are literally expected to keep up with trends and stereotypes. Like, that's oppressive. I would be so depressed if an image is posted out there of what I'm supposed to look like. And because I don't meet those standards, I'm not beautiful. Because I, don't have my breast out, that men are not going to find me attractive. Because I am not wearing a short dress with my legs out, or I don't have a BBL and all these things, that, I'm unattractive. Because right now, that's what the trend is. And honestly, the trend right now is what I had in high school. So to be honest with you, I'm the trend. And what's sad is that most of us were depressed back then. Especially black girls. Like, we already are. Most of the time we look like this, but we were shamed for looking like that. Now it's a trend, but that's oppressive. That I mean, to have to meet up to these standards, and then those standards change based on the society,
whatever the trend is.
Whatever the trend is. The society says, oh, you know what, no longer long legs.
Got to get rid of the BBL. Now I got to take it out. Now it's back to skinny
and you done had surgery. So I mean, how does that work?
Well, somebody said that at one time it was literally just celebrity women that did surgery. But now, all the women,
kids,
it's
women in high school, girls in high school are getting
BBLs and all this
really
stuff.
Sad.
And
because they're just ruining themselves.
But it is a pressure, because I mean, for some women, they see the attention that women get from having a BBL, and then they want that attention. It's not always a positive attention, but that feeling of affirmation, they can get it from that. And there's a lot of women that have done it that say they don't regret it. Because all the attention they get and the various things that come from that. But it's good to hear what you say, because that's a pure confidence. That's just come from natural. You're actually hiding everything that you have and feeling comfortable. That's from beauty from within, you know.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it's a good thing to hear for a lot of younger women. You know, just to appreciate who you are as a person. That's way more valuable than what you have on the outside. You know,
Exactly,
So.
because beauty fades.
Right. I mean, BBLs, I know people like them, but you know, it's
Well, I
it's
hope
good to
they
hear
like those complications too.
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
saying
don't-
20
I
years,
don't
what's it
know
gonna
if they
look like?
read all of that.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I really
it's
don't.
a price you pay for it for sure, you know. But
Yeah.
we just live in a world now where people they're willing to pay the price, like they'll take the risk.
Well,
to,
I
you know,
think
for
if
the
people are
beauty.
also just not, for lack of better words, is lazy. Like you just want the easy
Right,
route. You want to take the
right.
easy route, but there's always,
Right,
you said, there's gonna be consequences to that.
right, sure.
Yeah, no, that was powerful. Going off of that, how was it like? You know, because we talked about this a little bit with, I think, last year when 9/11 happened. Like, how did that impact you? Right, like I'm assuming at that point you were probably working or whatever. Like, how did that have an impact on you?
Oh, that was terrible, honestly. Like that was really bad. So a lot of people don't know this part of my life and like around that 9/11. So that was I was in college at the time and I ended up having to leave school because I didn't have any financial aid that covered my housing. It only covered tuition. So I had to live off campus and I had to find a job so that I could support myself and continue, you know, to go to school. So I told my mom I cannot find a job. Like they're really discriminatory. So, and I was in Newark, and I had like my hijab on, and people were like, "Do you have to wear that? Because you know we're really not looking to, you know, to have that out there in our store. To wear it as a turban." And so I remember the owner of the preschool asked me, you know, why do you have that on? Like, why you have your hair wrapped? And I said, oh, because I'm Muslim. And so she said, well, if you're telling me this is a part of your religion, fine, but you have to make sure that it's black so that it blends in with hair and that it goes behind your ears so that nobody could tell that it's like an actual scarf.
Wow.
I mean, the discrimination that people went through during that time, it was real. Like, people think that, oh, you know, that wasn't real. Like, nothing was going on. People were getting attacked.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my husband was followed, you know, because he was the president of the MSA at his college. He was followed by the feds.
Wow.
Like, I mean, these are like serious accounts that we were dealing with as young people. And I was scared, you know, so I felt like I had to do what I had to do. But to be honest with you, I mean, eventually just being persistent, you know, we came out on the other side. But I think it was just pure ignorance on our society's end with not understanding that just because you are Muslim and living in America that you're associated with something else. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The fact that they don't understand that your ethnicity could be different. You don't have to be an Arab just because you're Muslim. That is something that I never understood.
So, and it just made me think of something. So, like, whenever you have conversations, like for us, sometimes you say your name, it's an Arabic name, they ask where you from. I'm sure you've gotten that before, right?
And to be honest with you, my name on paper is Ebony Jackson -Shaheed. That is probably the blackest name that you would have. So I don't know why they were asking me where I was from when my name was Ebony. I don't understand that. But I think it's probably, you know, the way I look, I'm probably like, I can blend in with a lot of different groups. But I'm like, you know, I'm American. You know, and then they persist. Until
where are your parents from?
Exactly.
You know.
Well, you know, and then for me, then when I do say the foreign ancestry, then they're like, oh, see, that's it.
I knew it.
But I'm like, but then I'm like, well, that country doesn't even have a lot of Muslims though. So. They're Catholic.
No, that's funny, and I can only imagine. Like I said, we dealt with it on a certain level, but again, I can only imagine what it's like, you know, being a Muslim sister with the hijab after 9/11. We dealt with a little bit of jokes, the most,
no,
or
no.
maybe getting held up at
Right.
the airport because of our name.
Yeah,
But
that was probably the biggest thing was the airport for us. But I feel like the Muslim were much more courageous because I'll be honest, a lot of Muslim men were taking their kufis off, man.
Yeah.
They were swapping it out for baseball hats, wearing shorts. They were trying not to identify, and then if they obviously heard your name, then automatically it was a red flag. But the Muslim women didn't have a choice; they still had to dress a certain way because you would have. It's so much more noticeable. It's like okay, you're
but
not
even
following
in Islam
anymore.
though, it gives you that you have a pass, right? Like if you're like you're being persecuted, you could take it off, right?
Right.
You have that, and it's not like a knock on you. But if you keep it on, that's even like a badge of honor. It's like you're showing you have more than man, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't wanna I mean go too deep into it because I don't know the actual dalil on it. But I think though that we're gonna face discrimination regardless. Like I feel like 9/11 it probably was exacerbated, but to be honest with you, the effect that it's had on society even to now, I feel like it's still the same.
Yeah.
Like it really
Oh,
it's
still is,
still the same.
it
Like
has.
especially for Muslim women, like whenever I go anywhere, if I wear black or like a dark color, people are pulling their kids away from me.
Wow.
You know, people are kind of looking at me like, okay, what's she here for? Like, don't let my phone go off because the la ilaha illallah, you know.
Yeah,
ringtone.
let the don go off.
Or like, you
Don't
know,
have a book bag.
Exactly. People are like, oh,
silent.
like, it's, you know, like, what's happening? It's like, you know.
That movie was The Bomb. What'd you say?
Yeah,
Come out the movie theaters. I'm glad we don't use that slang anymore.
No, oh my goodness.
You know what's the crazy part about it? The stereotypes were so crazy that even as a Muslim, it had me getting nervous. You get on a plane and you see.
Oh,
like,
I'd be nervous too.
Yeah, you be looking at it like.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you got a turban on. What's going on? Then I'm like, wait, man, you're Muslim. What's going on? You have a hijab on.
You didn't say a word. You know what I'm saying? Like he's real quiet.
I'm
Like,
like,
yo, you speak
what's
up.
in that
I'm
bag?
like, yo, don't say something like gonna be not explained.
So you get the set, but I just feel like it was a difference. Like I wasn't going to mistreat anybody because of that. But stereotype. You know, you see, a full plane full of Arabs. You be like, yo, why do y'all get on the same plane?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
what's going on
And
here?
that's not right. But that was the mindset they gave
But that's
everybody.
what the media does. The
The
media does
yeah,
that,
they-
feeds that fear,
it was-
puts that fear into people, and
Exactly.
It's just like if you black and you from the hood, but then you come back and there's a lot of dudes. Let me lock my doors.
Right,
Like, you
right.
from here?
Listen, I was locking my doors when I lived here. I don't know if you all were doing, but we taught to lock our doors. Okay, we had the chain on.
Right.
We had the bow.
I'm talking about the car. I'm like, you had the light. And you lock
Listen,
the
No,
doors.
they were the bougiest black people. In the
Excuse me.
hood. They was bougie, yeah.
No.
But they always had a different mindset, and that's why I think you guys have all become successful. Because I remember when I was younger, like I said, I knew people that went to school. Everybody knew you were Muslim, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're a Muslim girl, yeah," because they knew I was Muslim. You know, Ebony, da. And I remember they would be like, "Yo, Ebony taught class like." He's like, I heard they eat like filet mignon at home, all this stuff. They said that's how you talk, you know.
The
So I
filet,
was like,
that's the way
the
I
filet
talk.
mignon.
right, they said that's what they talk about. You guys always had that mindset of having better. You know, there's a lot of people that grow up in the hood that don't think of that. They like, they just succumb to the circumstances.
Yeah.
But guys always thought bigger. So they would be like, yo, I heard they have lobster every night for dinner. I was like, I don't know, but if you say so,
No,
but
we were not having no lobster. We had the same spaghetti with the butter that everybody else was eating. Okay, that's what we had. We did not have no filet
that was a
mignon.
big family special, the spaghetti for sure.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's kind of speaking on that, obviously you want it more, and you're very successful in what you do now. How has Islam played an impact on your path, going through school and to leading up to where you are now? Like, what kind of role has Islam played in that?
You know what? I just want to say, I feel like I'm incredibly blessed. I think that, to be honest with you, I just feel like things fell into place. I did struggle through school. Especially it took me 10 years to get a bachelor's degree. And then I paid my way through for my graduate school. And then I did a postgraduate fellowship, alhamdulillah, that I was blessed to do at Yale University. And even doing that, how I got that, my mentor, he's a Muslim, physician.
Wow.
So I feel like there was always somebody, like Allah, places you in the space that you're supposed to be in at the right time. So I feel like, things just fell into place for me. And I just, honestly, I just didn't give up. And I think it's because of, you know, some of the things that I didn't have when I was younger. Not to say that I wasn't grateful for what we did have, but it was the fire. It was the fuel that, you know, kept me going, because I was like, listen, I want to give my kids better. You know, I want to live, you know, this way. And I need, you know, a partner, and, you know, that's has the same vision as me, and that's going in the same place. Like, when it comes to my goals and aspirations, I don't play. Like, that's just how I am. And as a woman, like, you know, like even my husband, he's like, yo, you're out there. I'm like, listen, this is what we're doing. When you get, when are we doing this? When you doing that? He's like, okay, man, like, so, you know, calm down. How are we doing these multiple, you know, streams of income? Like, he's like, you are like, you have so many jobs. And it's not about like so many jobs, but it's just about like, you know, I feel like as Muslims, we need to be the best. Like, we're supposed to be the example, so why not be it? Like, you know, it's a mentality, and I feel like, you know, just, you know, come into your greatness.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger misconception in Islam too, because I think people feel like that because you're Muslim, you're supposed to make these big sacrifices and not have any financial stability. You know, because we talked about the extremes of going up to the masjid, people not using toothbrushes, and
the prophet lived in poverty.
Right.
That's the excuse.
That's an excuse to be broke. You know, it was a convenience. You know, it's like, I don't have money because you know that was back then, they didn't have money,
Dude,
and that was,
you really just compare yourself to the prophet.
Right.
Go get a job.
But you know, talking about that though, I do see a discrepancy in the amount of African American Muslim professionals though. I'm not gonna lie, because there is not that many of us.
right.
When I am at these, you know, the Muslim Mental Health Conference, you know, you may see more there, but most of the time it's women. It's Muslim women.
Oh, definitely.
African American Muslim women.
Right.
I think that might be a black thing.
It's definitely
I
African
rarely
American,
see African American Muslim men at these locations. And then talking about just, you know, in college or like, usually
Educated,
we're a huge minority. Most of the time, you know, when I was in labs, they would be like, oh, where are you from? Are you from Egypt? Are you from? Because everybody else who was Muslim in the lab, they were all foreign. I was the only one that was, number one, American born, let alone African American.
Right.
And then when I tell people, like, you know, oh, I'm from New Haven, they're like,
New Haven?
You're
Still waving?
Yeah, they're like, you're from New Haven, so you're African American, you're from New Haven, and you're Muslim. Like, oh, okay.
Right.
I think we need to push more, you know, education on young African American Muslims. Like, this is what we need to be doing, because this is how we'll progress. Because a lot of other groups that come to America and they succeed, they're Muslim,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but they're
Business
Pakistani,
owners,
they're
everything,
Arab. Like, how come we can't do that and we're
Right.
here? Like, we need to push that too, especially with Islam pushing, you know, us being great.
Well, I think when we were growing up, a lot of it for the Muslim males, our fathers wanted us to be like Islamic scholars and various things like that. They never talked about finance. I think Fareed was very blessed. Your father did. He was a business owner.
Yeah.
So he was a little bit different. But I know for a lot of us, they were pushing, you got to follow the religion first. And then if you make some money in between, you know, that's fine. But, you know, be a scholar. That's more valuable than actually, you know, being successful, you know, financially, you know, stable. So I think for you, like, I always knew, to be honest with you, for you would be successful because your father instilled that.
I did too.
He was a business owner.
Mashallah.
No, bro, he was a business owner.
We thought you was rich too.
Oh, no, he was not rich.
It was like Sister Jamila house. Oh goodness.
No, he was not rich.
No, but your father, he was a
My dad worked
black
hard.
male entrepreneur, you know, so that's a great example. And he was able to teach you the religion, but he also taught you financial stability. And a lot of us didn't have that. So it was like, we didn't know what to do. I was just like, you know, my father, he had a good job and everything, but that wasn't his focus. That was, you know, the religion was the focus. You got to follow religion, no matter state of religion. Money is, you know, the root of all evil. That's, you know, there's a lot of things that we were taught. So I think exactly what you said, you know, instilling that in our children now and, you know, explaining to them, you know,
And
you
the
can
balance.
be religious
I think
and be
the
successful,
balance. A
you
lot
know?
of the things that we talked about before was like, when we were younger, like our parents, like their generation, they came from not being Muslim. They found Islam, it was beautiful, so they wanted to put that all on us. But then there was still other dynamics that we didn't talk about. A lot of us didn't talk about our own history. Why, you know, being black in America. We're still, we're Muslim, but we're still growing up black in America. We're still dealing with those challenges. And if we're not addressing those, then like, how are we dealing with that, you know? So yeah, to your point, I think there has to be a balance. Obviously, Islam is that's the most important part, right? Because we know this world is temporary. But while you're here, you should still, you know, there's nothing wrong with thriving, you know, while you're here and doing and putting in work. Like, don't use the excuse of, like, you know, the prophet lived in poverty, so I'm just gonna just pray and not, you know, get up and do something.
There were rich Sahaba, though.
Exactly.
So I think that's what people don't understand. And you need to, if you're gonna progress and make the religion progress, you need resources where you're at. So, you know, you can have a brother that, you know, owns a gas station, you know, and, you know, has a building, is in real estate. And that way, you know, that person can give towards, you know, a masjid or a school. Or so it's like if everybody has the same exact mindset and nobody thinks outside the box, nobody's into business, nobody's into medicine, nobody's like, how are we going to progress as a community? And I think that's what we need to be thinking about, are those things too. Like, Muslims are supposed to be the best in medicine. I mean, people don't talk about that, like how that's supposed to be one of our professions is medicine. How we're supposed to be educators, and women are supposed to be the first educators in the home. So if we have no education, how are we teaching the children? Like, I mean, those are some things. Even if you want to get a degree to be a housewife, that is better because you can teach your children, you can give your children, pass the skills onto your kids, and then build your community, your home, share those, create workshops in the masjid.
And you also want to attract other people too. They don't, you know,
build. You know, I think it's important.